Alright, welcome to the show. Today, we have a 15-inch 2016 MacBook Pro Display Replacement. Ought to be fun. Everybody likes to drop their computers, so I get to fix them for them. And it's always 10 tons of fun. And I like to try to spread the love and you know, show people how to fix these darn things. Maybe I'll save you $1. Maybe you'll just get some entertainment out of me doing it, you know, seeing the technology. Either way, I like to try and help people out a little bit. Maybe this will educate some people. So let's get started. We got a P1.2 bit. And that will get rid of all these 8 screws around the outside, 4 in the front, 2 on the bottom. So I'll get started on those. Two, three, oops, not quite. Couple more turns. And I apologize right off the bat for my quality of my camera. I know it's not high quality, but as I'm working, I'll try and push the laptop around a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Back screw here. And the last back screw over here. Alright, here we go. So then you always want to have like a good spludger tool. I prefer the plastic ones just so you don't break or fry anything. You want to get up under the edge of the computer over here a little bit and just kind of pry it up and get your fingers underneath the edge here, and then pull up, and you'll hear an audible click like a pop. That it's loud. Just don't pull too hard, or you can break, you know, some tabs or what have you. But you just pull up gently and keep going until you hear the pop, and just don't push too hard beyond when you hear the pop. So then you're going to take it and grab it like this with your hands, both hands, and you're going to kind of wiggle it and pull away from you on one side. You don't, and just do it until it pops, and then once it pops, you kind of want to wiggle it away. You don't want to just try and rip it as hard as you can one direction or the other, or even rip it straight off, because I've done that in the past and ripped a component off the board, and then you're either sitting there trying to micro solder, or you owe a customer a $500 logic board, and nobody really wants to do that. So anyways, now we're in this thing, and you can see she's packed with dust and dirt. So I'm, you know, gonna go blow the dust and dirt out of this thing. I'm gonna just put my mic on mute, and I'll be right back. I can't bring the, you know, sadly can't bring the camera into the dust blowout room. We just use a high-end, or not even a high-end, it's a real low-end air compressor, about 80 psi, and that seems to do the trick. In case you're ever wondering, you don't have to buy them crappy cans of air if you got a small air compressor and the blow-off tip. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So I blew the dust out of it, and also what I got to notice is that this little red dot over here, if you can see that in the camera, that's a liquid contact indicator, and it is tripped. So this thing came into contact with some liquid. So we're going to hope and pray that, you know, that's not the reason the display stopped working. Typically, it's like a backlight issue or what have you. I almost, yeah, no, I qualified it as a backlight, so hopefully it's just a bad backlight, and that was just maybe some moisture, because I don't see any liquid rolling around in here or anything crazy. So first things first, always disconnect your battery connector first. 5. Yeah, I don't know if you got to argue to the point you got to disconnect the battery just to blow the dust out of it. That's a little insane, but definitely before you go unscrewing any components, the first thing you want to do is get the battery connector out. Oh, so to go back, there's a little piece of mylar here, and you just peel it off, and then there's a round T5 screw, big screw here, and that's the BMU, or it's a battery interlock screw, and that makes the power connection from the battery to the logic board. So definitely unhook that, and then there's a little flap of like mylar with some metal in it that makes the connection, and you want to kind of just flip that up a little bit so that you know the connection's completely dead. There you go. Now our case is open, dust is blowing out, battery's undone. Now let's get into the fun. Put our T5 back for a second. We're going to switch to a T3 bit. T3. Sort of like Terminator 3, but not as fun. So there's 2 hinge covers like this, one on each side. There's just 2 T3 screws, one on each side, and then it just pulls right off. So we're going to take those off and just set them aside for reuse. And get that off there. Now you can see the hinge with the 3 T8 screws there holding the hinge down. So we're going to slide it over and show you the same thing on the other side. Okay, and that reveals those 3 hinge screws. So then we're going to come back to the center, and there's the tensioner bands. They actually hold tension for the display so it doesn't flop around when you open it. 1, 2, 3, 4 screws for those, and it's 2 screws per band basically. So let's take those out. 1, 2, and I definitely suggest to use a magnetic mat if you've never seen one of these. I use one. The screws stick right to them and they don't go anywhere, and it's a beautiful thing. And you can kind of lay them out in the order they came out, and it makes life easier for reversing the process. Just tips and tricks. I like to give anything I can. I know this is for you seasoned technicians. This is nothing new. All right. So in the middle, there's 2 cable cowling covers for the display connector. There's one here and then one right below it. Each of them has 2 T3 screws in it. So let's take those out and then take the little cowling covers off. 2. And they just pick up. They're just little pieces of plastic that hold the wire down in place. Well, metal with plastic, and that one, and then this one's all like a piece of tin metal. Regardless, they're just little things that hold the wire down with the screws. It's nothing crazy. So then take your little black stick, spludger or whatever, and there's the display connector right here. I'm going to disconnect that and just kind of fold it up. That's disconnected. Now let's see here. So we're going to swap back to the T5. You're going to do a lot of swapping between T3 and a T5. There is a ground connection here that holds down the antenna wires. And we have to undo that because you have to pull the whole antenna covering off. This whole piece here is like part of the antenna, basically. So we're going to get these T5 screws, that one, and then there's 4 along the T-con board. 1 on each end, 2 in the middle kind of thing. So we're going to go on those. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then the T-con board will come loose. If you take your black stick, you can kind of, it'll just flop around now. Okay, so then we have to take out I don't know why Apple does this. These are the teeniest, tiniest screws along here. It's a P 0.8 bit. And they are the smallest screws in existence. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on each side. So 16 in total. We have to take out all 16 of those screws across there.
Hey, Jared?
Yeah?
Is your iPhone...
Always get interrupted. Okay, so we're going to start on them little teeny tiny screws and go all the way across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just like to count. I'm going to go across the other side and get the other 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There. And the point of that video was really just for me to show you that I can count to 8. I feel highly accomplished. Okay, so there's these antenna connectors. There's 3 of them. I know my camera's trash, and I apologize for that, but there's 1, 2, 3. They're little silver antenna connectors that clip down to the board. So what you want to do is take the tip end, the pointy tip end of your black stick, and kind of put it under the wire, and then run it towards the tip of the connector, and eventually the connector will just kind of pop off. So, you know, go back a little bit on the wire, get the tip underneath of it, and then run it towards the tip of the connector, and it'll just kind of force the connector off the board. You just very easily slide it underneath of there, and it just pops right off. Okay, we got that, we got that. So now you're going to take the flat end of the black stick and put it in one of the vent holes on the antenna, and you're going to kind of peel up one side, and then go over, peel up the other side, and then take it both hands and just kind of wiggle it out. You're going to see these wires feed out from underneath of the heat sink, and it's going to come right off in your hands. There you go. So there's the whole antenna, you know, assembly. We're just going to set that aside because you got to reuse it. So we're going to take this MacBook, we're going to open it up and say, and flip it over. Hang it over the edge of your desk. Then we're going to get a T8 bit. And we're going to undo, there's 6. Other side. 1, 2, 3 over here. And same on the other side, 1, 2, 3 in a triangle shape. There's 6 T8 bits. Screws. 1, 2, 3. And you can see I took those out there. There. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to go over to the other side and do the same. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And now the display should lift right off. There we go. Boom. Broken display. Okay, we're going to set that aside. I got to go slide over yonder and get the new one. And then slide it. Alright. Brand new Apple parts. Still smells like the orchard. Fresh pick this morning. Alright. So what I do, if you can see this, you get your, your TCAD board to you want to kind of take it, flip it up, and then there's the tension cables. You want to flip them over with the T-con board, and then you kind of want to take everything in your hand and just do this with your fingers and just hold them back so that everything's behind your fingers like this. And then when you take it, you flip it over and set it down. And what that does is it holds all those cables and everything topside. So then when you let go of them, boom, they flop right down into place. They're not stuck underneath the top case. They're not stuck between the top case and the monitor. They're right where you want them to be. So we're going to put them 6 T8 screws back in place. One, two, three, 4, 5. Oh, I'm over here. You can't really see me. Here we go. And 6. Okay. And then you want to close the display. So set it back down. Fold it closed. Like that. And the first thing you want to do after you get that part done, retire your T8 bit because you're done with that. Get your T3 bit back out. The tensioner cables, you at this point have to screw them back down or else they get twisted, messed up, pulled around, and they just don't work right, don't sit right, etc. So you really want to get them in there first. So get our T3 screws back, flip them into place, screw that little tensioner cable back in here. You can see the other one here, sort of. It's got a spring on it, and it's a pretty solid little band. Like you'd think it's just for a little like mylar looking band, it would just tear and they would break, but I've never seen a broken one. So I guess you got to give Apple, props for that design. Okay. Get those 4 screws in there. Perfect. We're going to take our antenna cover and we're going to get that back on. But what you want to do is, if you can see that, the cables they get bent into like the position for where they plug in. So what you want to do is you want to take the cables and like straighten them out, like actually physically make them straight again. Just kind of bend them into place till they're straight. And then what I do is take it one step further, and you want to make them curl like upwards, like this. So you want to take it underneath and actually bend them upwards. Now what that's going to do is allow for clearance when you're sliding it back through underneath the heatsink. I'll show you in a second. And it also like flips it right up into the exact position. So when you put it through, you want to kind of hook it like up underneath, like in that kind of motion, like twisting upwards. So here, I'll show you what I mean. We're going to push the T-con board up out of the way, and we're going to go, there's a notch here on the left side. We're going to start feeding that antenna wire into that notch at an angle. You kind of want to come in at an angle like this, and as you're pushing in under the heatsink, you want to kind of slowly twist it upwards. Watch. So you push it in under the heatsink until you see the first antenna thing sticking out. You can see it there if I wiggle it. And then you want to kind of push, wiggle back and forth, and twist in that upward motion. And then you can see, boom, 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 all 3 of them wires popped right out. Boom, the little ground thing popped right out. It's right back in place. If I hadn't done that, then you'd have to sit there with like a pry tool and like pull one wire, pry it up, pull the next wire, pry it up, pull the next wire, pry it up. That just makes it so much easier when you just bend it just a little bit. and it goes right back into place. You know, they're wires. So we'll push that down into its spot. Take the T-con board, flip that back over, push that down into its spot, and then we're going to get the T5 bit back out. And we're going to put that ground screw and the 4 screws holding the T-con board back into place. So here we'll get that ground screw. There's that. We'll push the T-con board into place and put that first screw in there, and that'll hold that down. Then I can get the other 3 in place. There's that, and one more. Perfect. So then we're going to push the display connector back into place. You just kind of want to push that backwards slightly, typically anyway, or you know, however it's going to make it line up. And that just pushes down, pops right into place. And then these antenna wires, you want to kind of line them up and then take your black stick flat end and push it down in the board until you hear it click. Now let's see if I can get this lined up, and maybe you'll hear the click on the microphone here. Hold on. Alright, so it's lined up. Ready? That little audible click, that's what you want to go for, because then you know it's in place. That clips on there like a button, like. There we go. Alright, there's all. Oh, see, that one popped off. It didn't quite clip on right. Try again. And there's the audible pop we're looking for. And if you want to test that they're connected, you can just take the tip of your stick and just wiggle the wire back and forth and see if it like rotates around the little pin on the board or if it just pops off again. Okay. So then we have to put these, here, we'll put the T5 back, we'll get the T3 out and put those little hinge covers back on, because we can do that at this point. So little hinge covers, and the 4 screws, 2 in each of those. Two. Three, 4. There's that. And there's the display cowling covers. We're going to put those 2 back in place. The one here on the silver ridge, and then the one that actually holds the connector down. Those are all T3s as well. It's the biggest part about trying to get efficient at these repairs is figuring out which order to take the screws out in and put them back in, so that you have to switch your bits the least amount of times. Or you just have 2 different screwdrivers if you really wanted to be crazy. Dedicated T5, T3, T8s. You can get sets like that, or it's a dedicated driver for each bit. I'm not sponsored by them, but I highly, highly, highly suggest. My tool is a Naunch, N-A-N-C-H. Naunch, if you're watching, you know, feel free. You can sponsor me. I love your tools. But these have like every bit you can think of in these tools at kits. They come with a nice little carrying kit. The bit, you know, driver is expandable. The bits lock into place. Really high quality metal driver. I definitely highly recommend the Naunch kits to anybody. They're a little pricey. My kit, I think, was about $60, but also worth every penny. Okay. We got that that was not the screw we wanted to put there. I don't know what we did there. That was silliness. We want to put that screw over here in the cable cowling, not in the antenna. Okay, there we go. Put the T3 back and get our P.8 bit back out to get them 16 teeny tiny screws, the bane of my existence for all these repairs. I'm just going to get to work on those. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, there's one side. This part takes forever, and it's literally like the least necessary part. I mean, they really could have accomplished the same thing with probably 4 to 6 screws in total, like 2 on each side and 1 in the middle, or just 2 on each side. The newer ones actually prove that if you go watch my video for the M1 16-inch display replacement. They're designed slightly differently, and there's a lot less screws for the antenna covering.
Sure.
Yep. Okay, yeah, always getting called, but hey, we're about wrapping this repair up anyways, so last but not least, you want to get your T5 bit, and we got everything else internally, so we're going to get that battery lock screw back and put that down in there. Well, I gotta go help with a customer, so that's it for this model repair anyway. The only thing else you would do would be to put the cover back on. So regardless, you know, put that on, plug it into power, and fire it up. This thing's gonna be good to go. Hope that helped you with your repair, and if you liked the video, got this far, go ahead and like and you know, share the video if you want. That's always helpful and a plus. I hope it's educational and that it helps somebody out there. Well, thanks for joining me, and have a good rest of your day.